Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm here with Melissa and Neve, and we're here to talk to you today about the branches of the United States government. But first, let's talk about the Constitution. What is it? Written in 1787, ratified in 1788, and in operation since 1789, the United States Constitution is the world's longest surviving written charter of government. It has become the landmark legal document of the Western world and is the oldest written national constitution currently in effect. But what does it do? It defines the fundamental laws of the U.S. federal government, setting forth the three principal branches of the federal government and outlining their jurisdictions. First, the legislative branch. The legislative branch is the branch of the United States government that writes and passes the laws for the country. It is the first branch of government outlined in the Article 1 of the United States Constitution. The founders of the country intentionally did this to signify its importance in the structure of the government. Many scholars consider the legislative branch the most important branch in the United States government. The legislative branch consists of two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Together, they're called Congress. The House of Representatives has 435 members and is the largest of the two chambers. The House is based on proportional representation, which means that the larger states get more representation than the smaller states. Some requirements to being a member in the House of Representatives are a minimum of 25 years of age, at least 7 years of citizenship, and a legal resident in the state you wish to represent. The House has some unique powers. For one, the House is responsible for impeaching the president and other government officials. Impeach means to bring to trial. This only usually happens when something bad has occurred. Another one is that if there's a tie in the presidential election, the U.S. House of Representatives casts the deciding vote. And three, any bills that have to do with taxing or spending money has to originate from the House of Representatives. Now we have the Senate. The Senate has 100 members and is based on equal representation, which means every state has the same amount of representatives, 2 senators for each state. The requirements to serve in the Senate are: you must be at least 30 years old, be a citizen of the United States for 9 years, and a legal resident in the state you wish to represent. The Senate also has powers that is unique to its chamber. For one, they have the power to try the president and government officials after they've been impeached. Second, the Senate is the only chamber that can ratify international treaties. And third, finally, the Senate confirms appointments made by the president for other government positions.
So next we got the executive branch, which it carries out and enforces the law. What does it consist of? It consists of the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. The current president of the United States is Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. or Joe Biden. And the current vice president of the United States is Kamala Harris. The president, as I mentioned before, the current president of the US is Joe Biden. He's also the head of the state, head of government of the US, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. There are 3 requirements from the Constitution for the president. 1, to be at least 35 years of age. 2, to be a natural-born citizen. And 3, to have lived in the US at least 14 years. The president and the first family live in the White House in Washington, D.C., and is limited to 2 4-year terms. Responsibilities include execution and enforcement of the laws created by the Congress, appoints the head of more than 50 independent federal commissions, judges, ambassadors, and other federal offices, and has the power either to sign legislation into law or to veto bills enacted by Congress. The Vice President. The current Vice President of the US is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the first woman and the first woman of color to be elected Vice President in the US.
Up next is the judicial branch, which interprets the laws of the United States. There are 3 parts to it, which are the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in America, district courts, and courts of appeal. At the bottom, we have district courts. There is one court for every 94 districts. Above it, we have the Courts of Appeal, and there are 13 in the entire country. And then right at the top, we have the Supreme Court of America. The Supreme Court is the highest court in America. It rejects the majority of cases that are brought to it. Only an estimated 4% are heard. If the Supreme Court rejects a case, the ruling of the lower court will stand as the final ruling. There are 9 judges on the Supreme Court. When they are on the court, they don't have a fixed period, so they can stay on it as long as they want to. Justices are able to hold their positions until they retire, pass away, or are impeached by Congress. All of these justices have been nominated by both the current and previous presidents. In most cases, justices will wait to retire when there's a president who shares their political views, so that the president can nominate a new justice with a similar ideology. Once nominated by the president, it's up to the Senate to vote and confirm the nominee. The Supreme Court's most well-known authority is judicial review, which allows it to declare a legislative or executive act to be in violation of the Constitution. The rulings of the Supreme Court affect society as a whole, not simply attorneys and judges. Several landmark cases have involved various aspects of life in America, such as Roe v. Wade in 1973, which protected access to abortion across the country, and Brown v. the Board of Education, which declared racial segregation in schools as unconstitutional. Once the Supreme Court rules on a case, it cannot be overturned unless by another ruling by the Supreme Court has a different outcome. This is a highly significant power and that can affect many people's lives. So to summarise, upon its foundation in 1776, the United States of America lay out a set of rules called the Constitution, which has shaped the laws that are used today. The Constitution set out 3 branches of the American government, which are the legislature that creates and passes new laws, which must be compatible with the Constitution, the executive, which is the office of the president who enforces the law, and the judiciary, which interprets the Constitution and decides whether cases are incompatible with the law.